Hello and welcome to CloudFolks HUB. My name is Bhavesh Atara. You are learning ECS step by step, and right now we are on step number 5, understanding ECS task definition. Here we are exploring each and every options that we are getting while creating task definition. In the last video we discussed about task placement, and now in this video we are going to talk about container property of task definition. Because we have so many properties and we need to explore each and everything, we have divided this video into the 2 parts. This is part 1 of the container configuration. So let's start. Now here we have to start with basic details. So let's start with the name. The first is name of the container inside the task definition. Whatever the name that you want to assign to your container. For example, in our project, we are actually using simple web application. So I can give name like web application, right? Now, you know that the base of the container is image. You must have image from which we are actually creating our container. As you know that in step number 4, I explain you like how we can create image, and we also push our image to the ECR. Now, we want to use this particular image while creating our container. So, in this case, we have to provide image URI. Here, if you go to the ECR, we are getting this image, and this is image URI. So, I have to copy this image URI from here, and I have to paste this. So, my container will use this particular image as a main image of the container. Now you may have one question over here as well that okay, we are using ECR which is actually part of AWS, but what if I have my image stored into other repository? No need to worry about this, you can also use this. So let's understand this step by step. Location of the Docker image to run. In any repo, when you store the image, you will get this URI. You have to provide this over here. Now this repository can be any repository. It can be Docker Hub, ECR, Azure Container Registry, or Google Artifact. It can be any. Now, if we are going to talk about repository, it can be public and private as well. So if your image is actually private or it can be public, no need to worry, you can use this over here. The only one thing which is most important, if your image is actually in the public repo, you do not need to provide any authentication. But if it is in private repo, you need to provide authentication detail. How we can provide this authentication detail? I will tell you about this. We are going step by step. Now, I provided name. I provided my image URI. The third option that we are getting over here is essential container, right? The main or a critical container in the task that must keep running for the task to work. Keep this in your mind that task may contain multiple containers. Right now, I am actually adding detail about container 1, but if I want to add multiple container, I can add multiple container from here as well. So, task may contain multiple container. Now, in your application, if one of the container is the most critical, you can tag this container as an essential container. Now, if this container goes down, your task will fail. By default, it is going to provide essential tag to the container 1, but it is up to you. You can add this tag to any container. For example, I don't want this tag for the container 1, so I am going to say essential container, no. Then I am going to the container 2 and I am saying that yes, I want container 2 as an essential container. Now, if container 2 will fail, my task will fail, right? And if you want that okay, I want to tag both of this container as essential tag, you can also do this. If the essential container fails or stop, the entire task will stop. By default, the first container is essential, but you can set any or multiple container as essential. But if you have multiple container as essential, then look at this. If you have multiple containers marked as essential and any one of them goes down, the entire task will fail, right? Look at this. Here I have both container tagged as essential, means if any one of container will fail, it is going to fail my task. But we have only one container configuration, so I'm just going to remove this. No need to worry. For our project, we are just going to create one container, right? So we understood about name, image URI, and essential container. Now let's talk about private registry. Private registry authentication. As I explained you earlier, if you have repository in any outside repository system, you can use this. Even if your registry is public, you can use this. Private, you can use this. But if you have private registry, you have to provide authentication information, right? How you can provide this? I'm going to explain you in this particular part. First, if you pull an image from public registry, for example, Docker Hub public image, no authentication is needed. So let's say that I have my image into the Docker Hub public repo. I will simply off this, that okay, I don't want to provide authentication information, right? There is another turn as well. Understand this. When pulling your private ECR repo, when pulling image from your private ECR repo, ECS will automatically authenticate using task execution role. So in this case, you do not need to configure anything over here as well. Okay. Let me explain you this more about it. See, we have our image in the private repository of ECR, because in ECR, they are not allowing us to create public repo. So we have our image in private repository, right? Now, when I am going to pull this image, I just provided my URI, but I am going to opt this. Like I am not going to provide authentication information. Now you may have this question that okay, if you are not going to provide authentication information, how it is going to get permission to pull image from the ECR, right? In this case, actually we are using task execution role over here. I already discussed about this into some of the previous video. Here we discuss about task role in 5.6. Now using task role, our ECS system will get permission to pull image from the ECR. So because we are using task execution role over here, we do not need to provide authentication information even though our ECR repo is private, right? Now, for private image outside of AWS, let's say that you are using Azure repo or Google repo and you have private repository or even Docker Hub private repo, okay, you must provide authentication credential. ECS does not allow you to enter username and password directly in the task definition. Look, you cannot provide username and password directly over here. Why? Because,
sorry to interrupt you, I know you guys are enjoying our video a lot because our final ultimate goal is Solution Architect Certification exam. To reach the destination, we required full videos. Path number 1, our 6-in-1 program. Our 6-in-1 program include all prerequisite skills which is needed as a cloud engineer. It include 24/7 support, lifetime update, section-wise practice test, full course practice test with tips and tricks by Bhavesh Atara, how to do exam preparation course, weekly lifetime live session with Bhavesh Atara, and 6 AWS project with documents. Path number 2, you can enroll by paying $499 and get Hindi and English, both the languages, videos of AWS. The choice is yours how to create your success story by choosing best one. Best of luck. Thank you.